Hello everyone, this is Muttu from Yemen.
Hello, guys.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Um, give it a minute or so, or perhaps two.
Hi everyone.
Hey.
Hello.
It's an interesting feature of Zoom. It keeps moving the participant list around. So when you try to take notes, who's here? It's like, yeah, I don't know why it's reordering it constantly, but. Marcine.
I never noticed that before.
Perhaps it's a Linux thing. I don't know.
Well,
it doesn't happen for you.
I'm trying to figure it out whether it does or not.
Yeah.
You have to catch it when everybody's joining, but
It does.
it might be a
It
Linux.
does on the Mac. It's just organizing it by alphabetical order. That's what it's doing, I think.
It's doing a poor job because Louise.
Actually, no, it's not. Yeah. Oh, interesting.
Just.
No, but Louis is the host, right? So.
Yeah.
I don't know
It's
how
ordered
that
by
works.
people speaking, I thought.
I
It
think.
could be.
I think so. Yeah.
We talked last
I think if
time.
you mute, you drop to the bottom or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we are getting quite a bit of participants. There are two important things today. There might be others, but we need to agree on the release process. The reason for that is to be able to hit January 31st, we need to do a lot of stuff in early January, and there are some company closures coming up and holidays and these things. So it would be good if we can have at least an agreement on how we want to do the first release. The umbrella organization topic is also something that we need to try to hit. It's a good idea to move, if we want to move to an umbrella organization, it's a good idea to do that when we release, or at least so we can announce both of those things at the same time would help, I think. So that's another thing that would be good to sort of get an agreement on, and make sure that we perhaps even vote on it. So because that's the first thing, and then we need to approach the umbrella organization, and they have a process for joining, and so on and so forth. So the release process, if we summarize that, just the outstanding discussion topics, I think the branding is one thing, or the branching. I mean, how do we branch? So that was one topic for discussion. I think we agreed there. At least we agreed around feature branches and these things. And then we had a discussion I know, I don't know, William is not here today, is he, or am I missed? No, he was expressing that perhaps we should have these sub projects in separate repositories, like if we want to develop a new plugin. So that's another thing, but that might not really touch on the release process as such. It's more of a, they live in their own repository, and we need to do integrations every so often before we release, and see who's actually what is working, what is not. So the other thing was the existence of maintenance releases. That was another thing that was raised. I do not remember if we managed to agree on that. If not, that's the only outstanding thing I can think of. Any input from anybody?
Well, we had conversations on the fact that it's going to take the same people to do a maintenance release as it does for a major release. I think the only point in my mind I was trying to get more clarity on was the idea of the snapshotting, because, do we want to go with a regular cadence? Well, actually, and the snapshotting was also related to the branches and what's on which branch. But if we do not have maintenance releases, my question is going to be, are we doing 2 releases a year, 4 releases a year? That's where I get trying to figure out.
Yeah, exactly. Any input from anybody on that one? And sorry, before that, Susan, what do you mean by snapshotting?
Well, it's been brought up a couple times that you're going along and your way of releasing is simply to grab a snapshot at any given time. And that was confusing to me because of the discussion of different features that are being created at the same time, and the necessity to come up with a release branch so that you can test everything together, do some integration testing, and versus, well, we might have a new plugin at any given time, so it might be a good idea just to snapshot depending on what's happening.
Do you mean like, so I guess, do you mean labeling, or how do you, well, what does a snapshot mean in Git lingo? Or,
Yeah, I don't know. Alex, I think you were the person who was talking about the snapshotting. Can you characterize it in terms of what Jonas is saying?
Well, so the idea is that you pick a set of, so if we look at ODIM as a set of components that are integrated together by whatever interfaces are appropriate, you could argue that each component of ODIM, and I'll give an example in a second, should move at its own pace. And then at some point you basically, but they can be, all of these components can live in the same, in the same GitHub. It doesn't have to be in different GitHubs, but the idea is that periodically you take a snapshot of your work and you say, we're going to call it release 1, release 2, release 3, release 4, release 5, release 6, whatever. You could potentially even do a snapshot of the development branch and say, this is an experimental release or a minor release, or a dot release, whatever you want to call it, maintenance. It doesn't matter. The point is that you continuously move ahead, and then you decide that when you reach a certain point, a certain set of milestones in terms of developing these components, then you just basically collectively just say, okay, this is release X. There are lots of ways to do it, but I think what's really important, regardless of how many releases we do or how many GitHubs we have, I think it's important to kind of look at ODIM not as a single monolithic kind of entity called ODIM RA, but to really look at it in terms of foundational services and the basic framework for integrating all the other content together, all the other components together. If we do that, then you could arguably say that, you know, an aggregation service is a component, a composition service is a component. There may be other services that, you know, have to be immutable, meaning that you can't get rid of them, or you can't, you know, you always have to take them, right? So,
So,
I just,
but okay. So just trying to rein it in here. So I'm just thinking. So there is the discussion topic of should we have maintenance releases or not? There is the discussion topic how many releases without maintenance release should be 2 or 4, and then as far as snapshot, that's I'm just trying to understand, because I guess the two approaches here to do this is to either just release from the development branch, or if, because that's where things are going on now, and then we just label it release 1, and then we say CI/CD will guard that everything is working, so it doesn't matter if whenever we label it RC1 or something, and we go on and then we fix some stuff. The problem with that is that we're going to get new stuff in then. So once we fix the stuff, we have new features all of a sudden in, and we do RC2, and RC2 comes with new features then. So it's fine. I mean, from a theoretical point of view, as long as you do your CI/CD fine, everything is supposed to work. Hey, reality is that when somebody is starting working on something new, they might not develop sophisticated test cases and things, so they just dump stuff in. That's why we have feature branches and these type of things. And a release branch is a way of getting out of new features. So are we still? I'm trying to understand.
I think we're okay with the idea that individual features, if features are equivalent to components of ODIM.
Not necessarily. I mean, a new feature it doesn't have to be a new component. It can just be okay, before I couldn't configure this, but now I can configure it. And a new component is rather a plugin or a new service or something like that, right?
Sure, but you could arguably use, you know, again, you can, whatever the terminology you want to use. The idea is that you have these functional elements that live within individual branches, and they get developed and enhanced, and some of them are experimental, some of them are not. But they may, you know, but at some point they get integrated into, you know, at certain top periods of time, they get integrated back into the development branch, which is what you're showing in yellow, right?
Yeah.
But Alex, there is a slight difference. If you have a separate repository, you'll only have code for that module. Whereas if you have a branch, a feature branch, then it will be a copy of the development branch and additionally the new component.
Right, and you can decide. So we shouldn't rule that out. I mean, how much you do where would depend on what you're actually trying to do. So, for example, if we have to enable, I don't know, I'm just off the top of my head, multi-tenancy in ODIM, right? That may require work. That as a feature or whatever you want to call it, you know, that may require work across multiple different components, right? So, and you have to be able to accommodate that, right? Because you know,
but I do think that the decision of keeping a new type of thing in a separate repository or not, I think is something we can take a decision on independently of the release process.
I would agree.
I kind of favor that. I mean, so for instance, Intel went and did the unmanaged rack module in a separate branch here now, like a feature branch. And obviously that was done after decisions and discussions, and I think I even tried to push them, you guys, in that direction. Once we get a whole bunch of plugins, do we really want them all in the same repository? Because perhaps we want them in separate repositories at one point. But I think that decision can be taken independently. Just if you have a separate repository, that will allow a plugin to release at a different time or release independently of ODIM, and it would also allow for new plugins to. Nice.
But what
New
is
plugins to-
ODIM? I mean, again, I think part of the discussion here, Jonas, I think for the first release, I don't think we need to get into the, let me
Yeah.
kind of, let me try to kind of give us a fast path, right? For the first
Thank you.
release, all we're doing is really getting release 0, whatever, release 1 out of the box, okay?
Yep.
That's all we want to do. So really doesn't matter much, you know, how we do it or, you know, where we put it, you know, to start with, because, you know, it is what it is today, right? And as always, you know, the baby's never going to be perfect, you know, in open source on the first release. It'll be pretty ugly for the first 3-4 releases. So, so now then we need to decide, you know, how do we potentially refactor ODIM so that it is more attractive to commercial distros, providers, right? Because not everybody may want to have everything we put into ODIM. And so we need to facilitate the ability to, you know, create a commercial distribution from the reference implementation and being able to, you know, not include certain components, or substitute the implementation of a given component. And so to me, once we start talking about that level of modularity and pluggability, then we can decide whether or not everything has to be in a separate GitHub, which might create a lot of administrative overhead, or it might be all in one, and you know, we use some other mechanism to do it. For the first release, none of that really matters too much. We don't have anything officially built today.
But I think so for the first release, we need to decide on this part here. The integration period is going to kick in on January then, right? And that's 2 weeks. And then we're going to issue a release candidate. And we do that from a release branch. And then we do that for 2 weeks. And then we release. And then we can.
Yes, you want to be able to recreate releases, right? And so release 0, we need to be able to recreate it from any, you know, at any point in time, right? So if there's a way for us to do that, then I think we're going to be okay. And
okay, so I think we can do a partial vote. Then we can say that, hey, for the first release, we're going to follow this process, and then we're going to revise it.
Yeah,
I also think.
With one exception, what I see here, again, maintenance releases, it's great. It's great if you have, you know, 200 people working on something in parallel, but that's not the case here. So it is what
it is. But if somebody picks up ODIM on January 31st, and then we discover many issues, are we going to tell them that they're going to wait till July 31st?
Well, they could potentially fix it, fix the.
I mean, the fixes will go in, but we're not going to have a new release until July 31st. Then.
Well, I mean, we can decide. I mean, what does it mean to have a release on July 31st? On that day, we freeze the development branch, take a copy of it, and call it release 1. We're done.
Yeah.
So really doesn't matter, you know, when and how many we do. It's just that you can do this process 5 times a year, 2, 1, whatever makes you happy, right? But the process should be consistent. We take a copy of the development branch at that point in time, and then we harden it, right? And then
but what I'm getting at is, should we have 4 releases a year, or should we have 2 and no maintenance releases? Because then, if you have an issue in the released version of ODIM, you're going to wait for 6 months potentially before you get it fixed, right?
Yeah, I don't know, to be honest, at this point, how much we need to do. We shouldn't preclude more than 2, right?
I think that is also a decision we can take after, I guess. But Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and
right.
I like what both of you are saying as far as zeroing in, and I would even suggest we split it one more time and just say, okay, what exactly do we need to do so that we can enable the January 31st? And
Yeah.
during January, we definitely need to resolve these other things, but it would just get us on a schedule for the January 31st release and then figure out
But
everything later. So we just need to name
yeah,
it,
but the
right?
outstanding for that release is still versioning, and I
Right.
heard a proposal last week that I really liked with the year dot the month, but I'll leave it for others to
And as
feed
long
into.
as
That's
we
what the
believe
NTF
that
does.
we will never release anything twice a month, that's fine.
Yeah. Do you think we would potentially release only twice a month?
Probably
I
not.
hope. Yeah.
Probably.
I mean, and if there is a maintenance release, it will be the third digit then, right? So it will be year dot month dot the maintenance release. That's that was the proposal. That was not a proposal, but there was somebody last week that shared that with us. I don't know if it was you, Piotr, or if it was somebody else, but that was
yeah, it was me.
okay. So then release in 31st of January will be 2021.1 release of ODIM, right?
One meaning first quarter, right?
Meaning
No, first
January.
first month.
Yeah.
So ODIM 2021.1.
Yeah.
Why 2-1?
It's
Well, it's
2021.
Oh, 2021. Yeah. Okay. Sure.
Yeah, 21.01. It will be easier to read when we have
okay.
like
Yeah, you're right.
Oh,
You're right.
one.
That's easy.
Okay.
And
Let's say like
Yeah, we really don't need the century. I think we'll keep it in, we can keep it just 20.01. 21.01 is enough, I think, just there.
but
oh,
Jonas,
you
let's
want to
say
create another Y2K issue here?
We'll worry about that in
Well,
the next
it's
millennial.
confusing because
Is
normal person looking at this, uninformed person looking at this would say, "Oh, they've had 20 releases before this one, 20 major ones."
Oh, you're right.
I'm
You're
not
right.
sure. I mean, it's
but-
there's so many projects are doing just the two last digits of the year.
The MTF is doing 4, right? But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, saying that it's released 2021 dot, January, release, 01, 02, 03, 04, 05, that's a little bit more intuitive, right? If you just say 21 without knowing what our scheme is, I would say, holy crap, this thing has been around forever. 20 releases have gone by.
No. I'm just saying 21, .01 or or 21.03 or whatever, so having that two digits for the year and 2 digits for the month. That's what I'm.
You can do, as long as there's some quick way to identify which version you're talking about, life is good.
Yeah.
If you guys feel 22 letters, two digits for the year, I'm fine. I'm not going to be part of cleaning that problem up in 2100 anyhow. So.
there are multiple open source projects that use this release naming scheme, so probably no one will be wondering if there will be 21 releases or if this is a stamp for a year.
Yeah.
And Jonas, I had one thing, like say suppose we make a release, and unless it is on the last day of the month and there is some emergency fix we have to put in, right? Then
Yeah.
Good
You
one,
mean after?
Barath.
You mean
after
On the day of, yeah. And it
or
slips
within
not
the
the same.
month, within the next month, if we have to make an emergency release, that something major goof up happened.
Yeah, but then that will be 21.01 dot something, and that's the patch number, right?
Okay, okay. Because I only heard till 01, so I was thinking.
Yeah. No, if we do a maintenance release or a hot fix or whatever, it will be the third digit.
Yeah.
My thinking.
So let's spell that out. What is that based on this? It would be ODIM 21.01 dot something.
Yeah, that would be a maintenance release.
.01.01? No.
I don't know if it needs to be a 0-1, because how many maintenance releases do you think?
For the maintenance releases, we just use numbers.
Yeah, so just .1 then, right?
Okay, so it's Piotr, it is a combination then of the date, but then something out at the end, the extension is really which fixed release it is. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think we need to maintain the the patch version also as a standard, like standard format. But here 21.01.0 for the many major releases, upcoming 1, 2, 3, 4, something like that, to maintain the standard format in the version. That's just suggestion here.
The maintenance release number is just the number of the maintenance release. If this is the first, the second, the third, etc.
I mean, it's like anything else. It's major, minor, and even more minor, right? Whatever you actually use between the dots, whether it's numeric, alphabetic, alphanumeric, code names, really doesn't matter, right? What we're really agreeing on is that there will be major versions and then there will be minor versions.
Yeah.
And you're done. I mean, let's not make this more complicated than we need to, right? An emergency fix would be a minor release. You can call it whatever you want to call it, right? But there's ideally you would have a major version, so because you need to also, from an API perspective, we're going to need to maintain backward compatibility, and there are lots of ways to do that. And you could argue that you only maintain API backward compatibility between major releases, or you could say that you maintain API compatibility at minor release for certain things, but you can create rules then, right? And saying that you're going to do something at release 21, and then it's again 21 and again 21 and again 21. I guess 21 is just the year. Then it loses meaning, right? It's just, you can have 21.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.3.1.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know what you tell. Okay.
Why do you need 21 at that point in front? Just to
okay, so here what I pasted was the proposal, right? And so we have year dot month dot potentially a maintenance number. I don't know what you were getting at, Alex. Do you want to remove the year?
Because it's meaningless in the end, right? Because what you're basically saying is that there will be a lot of
projects have it, right?
Okay, but let's think about it, right? So we have 21.1. Let's say we do 4 releases. Then we have those 4 releases. If there is a minor release of that release or a maintenance, it's going to be 21.1.
No. If we have 4 releases, 4 main releases, it's going to be 21.1, 21. What is the next month? .4, and then right. If we have 2 releases, it's going to be 21.1, 21.7, and that's it, right? And then maintenance release will be 21.1 something.
All we need to do is whatever the designation is, right? Logically, we need to be able to segregate major from minor. That's all. So
and major is the second, and minor is the third.
Okay. And then why do we need the 21 if you do that? Because then I'll have 24, 22.1, 22.4, 22.7, 20.
Yeah, but Alex, if we don't have that, then the months will repeat. So next 22nd Jan, again, it'll be 1.
You guys are really fixated on the months. Okay, let's do that.
And to what Piotr said in the chat, you actually said, Jonas, per month, so it would be 01, 04, 07, and then you could have a 12 or an 11 or a 10, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. So basically, collectively, 21.01 is the major release.
Yeah.
Yes.
Fine. Let's not argue over that. As long as
so can we vote from what I put in there?
Yes, we can. At least I can on behalf of Intel. So.
Okay, I put it in again, and please also check that Piotr highlighted that the third digit, or not the third, after the punctuation, after the dot, the third one doesn't have to have a 0. It's just a maintenance release, so we can do 1, 2, 3, or whatever. It's just
Sure.
one.
Sure.
Okay, so then we are voting, guys. So we have Intel, we have AMI.
I think for the record, I mean, for the purpose of voting, it would be better if we just said company +1, because that's essentially what.
Yeah. Okay. Shit. Okay. Let me just do it again then. So let's do company, so HPE +1. Okay. Thank you, Alex. That helps, because otherwise I have to figure out who's
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we have majority already.
Yeah,
so,
we do.
So.
Okay. The vote went through. Susan, are you taking notes?
I am taking notes.
Oh,
Yes.
okay, thank you. Okay, all right, good. So we will again discuss and refine the process after our first release. Okay, very cool, very good. So now we can move on to another very quick thing. Probably not going to be very quick, but so where do we want to go? I guess, Alex, I will ask you as well, and Bob, to chime in here. But I picked up from LF that they have launched a little bit of a new thing in LFN, where they try to embrace an approach to also encourage enterprise type of projects. So it's not going to be exclusively telco anymore.
So I think I would put it this way: there are companies who are joining LFN or LF Network umbrella, who are not explicitly or exclusively focused on the telco space. So an example would be Google, right, or Microsoft, or potentially other companies. And so that potentially alleviates, presumably alleviates the concern that we had over being pigeonholed into a telco space. And I think what I understood is that the leadership of Linux Foundation is actively recruiting other companies who are not explicitly telecom service providers or operators or whatever you want to call them, but companies that have broader scope in the industry, and would also be able to benefit from having this project be part of that umbrella. The other piece apparently is that the tie-in with CNCF is pretty, is kind of becoming more definitive because of the adoption of cloud native architectures and microservices and Kubernetes and everything else that CNCF kind of provides in terms of projects. And so as long as that continues to be true, and as long as we can actually see some critical mass from non-telecom companies like public cloud providers, potentially managed hosting, others, then I think LFN would be a fine place for ODIM to land.
Yeah, I completely concur with that.
The other angle that was interesting to talk about yesterday was the evidence they've seen that we're sort of in this sort of isolated little island right now. We're struggling to get broader participation, and other projects who have signaled that they're going to be part of the umbrella have benefited from increased participation, other companies showing up as part of the LFN umbrella. We don't get very much help or resource from LF because we're not officially in the umbrella. So if we were to, two things: one, if we were to join the umbrella, we would get more we would actually be able to leverage some of their budget for project management and web support and other things. And number two, the thinking is that it would increase our visibility and standing within the community, and we could see more cross-pollination with the new Anakit project and ONAP and perhaps Airship and other
But I think the problem
doing
we have
work.
is not cross-pollination because we already have that, right? With CMTT, with Airship, with other places. I mean, I think there are other projects that see the value of what we're doing and want to work with us. I think the issue is just attracting the foundational members, because we would have members then.
But I think there are a couple of reasons why somebody would look at ODIM and think, oh, is this going to be around? One is, we have members, but it hasn't grown like crazy, specifically hardware vendors. And another is we are a technical project under LF, so we are on our own. Moving into LFN, I think, would make us become more like permanent. It would seem like we are here to stay. I mean, obviously people can move into LFN and fail there as well, but at least we will give the impression that, okay, we're taking it to the next level, and now we want to,
Right.
And I think that might just make us appear more robust.
Yeah, I think the most important thing for us is to either continue to abide by our direction that we established during the formation, or we can change the direction too. That's the other part, right? We could potentially say we're not going to give up on the enterprise and we're just going to do telco. But I don't think that's necessary, because it sounds like LFN is becoming more diversified in terms of target markets.
Yeah. Okay, so that was quite a bit of a push for LFN here from us. But is there anybody that feels that is not a good place to move ODIM into? We already heard from the LF guys that you can definitely be part of the ODIM project, even though you're not paying in as a member of LFN. So that's another thing to just call out.
Yes, absolutely. You do not have to be a member of LFN to participate in this project, or be on the TSC, or even be a TSC chair potentially. So, yeah.
If there are no concerns, we could potentially vote on this one as well. The first step to getting into an umbrella organization is obviously for our technical steering committee to agree and to vote on it and get it through, and then we can start the process. There is I don't know, Luis, is that a process you could describe shortly, or there was a tax thing involved?
Yeah, if we have a couple of minutes, I just want to talk about the process briefly, and then get I want to bounce some ideas off the team about timing, because I had a couple of thoughts. So there is a process. The first thing we'll be working on is an entry document, which pretty much outlines the project in a comprehensive way, provides the tools that we're using, community health, and some metrics around analytics for the project currently, which I've already started putting together a little bit. So it's a comprehensive document. I could share a template. As a matter of fact, we actually started one for ODIM, but it's a bit outdated. But I can share that with the team and actually drop it on our wiki. So that's the first step. We need to go through that. Then we have to announce our intention to the TAC, the LFN TAC, of our intention to be considered for induction under the umbrella, and that's through a formal email. And we also need to decide on either elect or nominate or volunteer to be a TAC representative who can represent the project on a periodic basis. It's not so much of a heavy lift thing, but just to sort of represent the project on the TAC. So that's first step, is review with the TAC. And then it's a formal approval by the LF board, which happens after that. And then a public, an announcement, launch, an announcement that the project is officially under LFN, and there's some PR and media around that. So, Yeah, so we're going through this process currently with XG Vela, and we got a bit of a head start. We're actually, so let me just outline a little bit of the timing, because I think we're up against the holidays, and I think January to actually get in front of the TAC is probably not going to happen. It's just a bit tight. We have too much work to do, which, by the way, I'll lead that whole thing. But here's what I'm thinking. We might be able to get two media blasts for the price of one here. We can perhaps, we can do something around the January 31st R1 release, where we announce the release of, R1 ODIM, as well as the intention to join LFN, and that could be like one media blast. And then a second one would be around the February-March timeframe. And I'll tell you why March in a second, but anyway, and that would be like the formal induction announcement that ODIM is under LFN, and then even perhaps like a dot release announcement if the timing is right. The reason that I'm proposing March is because we need to have board approval, and the board meets in January, which again I don't think we're going to be ready for in time. It's just with the holidays, it'll be difficult. But the next board release would be March, so the next opportunity to get in front of the board for them to approve would be March. So that would be the spacing of the two announcements, right? The Jan 31 R1 release announcement and the intent to join, and then the actual induction announcement, later on, a couple months later in March, is what I'm thinking.
Okay.
And we just get yep.
I think that would actually be beneficial, because there are other things we need to do, I think, before we formally kind of become, at least in my mind, before we become a member of that umbrella. And that is, we need to fix our technical charter. We need to fix all the things we wanted to fix, so that when we go in, it's kind of, we have the governance rules or whatever, I forget what we call them, but we make the amendments that we wanted to make for voting and for other things, and then we're ready to go. So it's going to take a little bit of time to do that.
Alex, you're right on there, because governance is a big piece of what the TAC wants to see, to make sure that we got a structured governance, open and fair. And the second thing, which is cross-community collaboration, is big. So that's where we want to put the CNCF ties and the ONAP ties and all those ties to other projects. We want to sort of solidify those in our proposal and sort of verbalize, or at least document how we fit into these other projects. And that would be part of the the induction as well for that consideration. So those are two important pieces.
So, Luis, what do you need from us today? It would be a decision to move ahead with this. Do you need the TAC representative as well, or can we hold that off till January, or because we are not going to meet until January? Okay, good.
Oh yeah. I think now, I mean, I think a vote would be good. Yeah. But no, we I don't think we need any of the proposals, the documentation yet. We'll work on that. As soon as right after the new year, we'll get that going for real. And we'll probably talk about that pretty much weekly for a short time, just to make sure everyone's on board with what needs to happen. And we'll set up an exact timeline around that as well.
Yeah, the other thing to mention here is what we are getting from LF now, as far as Luis being here and the recordings and all that. I'm not sure that is typically what you're always going to get as a technical project, or if you guys have sort of put that in a little extra because you were thinking we are going to move eventually. But there will also be more stuff, more support that will come our way as we are members under an umbrella organization. We will get access to things like Jira and these type of stuff.
That's correct. Yeah. So, just a couple of words on that. So we did go a bit above and beyond on this project because of the fact that we see the value in it. So we provided a wiki, Confluence, which normally comes, after induction. Also the domain, which we currently, have established as well. But yes, after induction, there'll be LF Insights. So we'll be on LFX for analytics, and then there's Jira, of course. and separate Zoom for the project. So those kind of services will come with as well as the marketing group, which is key as well. Access to those folks. So those are the things that come in once you're in the umbrella.
Is there any other questions from the team? I preferably, it would be great if we can vote on this, but I don't want to force a vote if we don't feel we're ready, right?
I think it would be I think it would be good to trying to think how we could do this.
I mean, many projects will do an email vote over that and give people, 1 week, and just collect
we
it
can
over.
do that. Yes, that would be okay.
Yeah, we could do that.
Yeah, sure. I just want to mention though that we had this discussion a few times. So if somebody wants to have a week to think about it over email, and then we vote over email, that's fine. But please speak up in that case. Otherwise, we are putting in delays that are not necessary. Right?
That's correct. That's correct.
Yeah, because if we sort of signal our intent now with a vote, we can hit the ground running as soon as the new year comes around, or even before. I can drop the proposal document on the wiki for people to start looking at what's needed in there. We can just move faster, basically.
Right, I'm going to call you guys out here. I think Intel and HPE are ready to vote. What about AMI? Can you vote, or do you want some extra time to discuss this? I know you had some concerns about not being members, perhaps, and things, but that has been clarified, I guess, a couple of times.
Yeah, I think we can go for vote for it, Jonas. We are good with that one. Yeah.
How about Tieto, Avery?
Yes, same here. So
okay.
No concerns.
The vote is in.
Excellent. I think it'll really help us. I think it'll be beneficial to us.
I'm not seeing anything in the chat. Are you asking people? Oh, there it comes.
Yes,
I did.
Never mind. Okay, I see it now. Yay!
Alex, you threw in an extra character there.
Sorry.
I think it's still valid, right?
1 asterisk.
All right, cool.
It's a minor release.
I see. Okay.
Or some disclaimer that you can change your opinion later.
Yeah. Only if I get X, Y, and Z as a.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, awesome. This is an amazing progress, actually. So
yeah, is there so we got 4 votes? Is that enough? Is that
yes?
Quorum,
Yeah. 4 out of 5.
Okay, cool.
4 out of 5. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah. Excellent.
Any other topics or anything more you want to say, Luis, about this?
No, I think I'm really looking forward to helping out and moving this project forward. I think you're in good hands, and I think we're going to do really well. I think we're going to get a ton of exposure as well coming up. I want people to think about the February virtual event to get ODIM in front of that community, the LFN community, because that can provide a lot of bang for the buck right there. So we should maybe over the holidays think about what we can put in front of that community, that group. I think, what was that deadline? I thought it was January something. I can look for it though.
Yep, very good, very good. I think that's on us to prepare for that. But I think now we know where we are aiming for, so this is going to help us. Any other topics for today then?
So we're canceled over the holidays, and we meet again the first week of January, correct?
Yep, correct.
Yeah, very good.
Okay, if nothing else, get some time back.
All right.
And have a wonderful holiday and a happy new year to everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Happy holidays,
definitely.
everybody. Happy New Year.
Definitely.
Thank you. Same to you
Yeah,
guys.
happy holidays.
Happy holidays, everyone. Bye.
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 Yep. Happy holidays. Bye bye.
Happy holidays, everyone.